Hey guys, Chrono here, and today I'm bringing to you another budget deck profile, but this one is specifically targeted towards players that are first starting Yu-Gi-Oh! And the reason I'm bringing this up, I've had a ton of success with this deck with my own son. He's very young. He's actually only 5 years old. He just turned 6 recently. And for Christmas, he wanted a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. And I talked to a friend of mine, and he mentioned that pendulums would probably be the best way to show him what to do. So the deck profile today that I have for you is a pendulum Odd-Eyes Magician build. It's very competitive, super cheap, and very easy to teach. So for those of you who are looking for a deck to teach to someone new, this is the deck. Okay, so first we've got two Performapal Odd-Eyes Unicorns. This card's really good. What's nice about this, when this card is normal or special summon, you can target one Performapal monster in your graveyard and gain life points equal to its attack. I used this when the Joker was still legal, just to gain the life points if it was in the graveyard for some reason. Very useful card. What I really like, though, is its pendulum effect, and I don't think people realize that it's even there at times. So, once while this card is in your pendulum zone, when your Odd-Eyes monster declares an attack, target one other Performapal monster you control. That attacking monster gains attack equal to the original attack of the targeted monster on the field until the end of the battle phase. So here's what makes this so good. When the Joker was legal, I'd use his 1800 to boost my Odd-Eyes cards, which was really helpful because Odd-Eyes cards do have that weakness. They can't get over 3000 very well. Okay, then I run 3 Dragon Pit Magician. Now, if you don't know how this card works, it's really good too. It is a normal monster, which is great, so it can be searched with cards that I'll show you in a little bit here. But also, what's great about it, if you have a Magician card in the other Pendulum zone, just by discarding a card, you can destroy one or spell trap card on the field. So I don't run any MSTs, Twin Twisters, because Dragon Pit fits the bill. Okay, 1 Abyss Actor Trendy Understudy. The only reason I run this card is because he's a scale 8. Okay, now I do run 3 Time Gazer Magicians. Now I know what some of you are thinking, oh, this is a horrible card. Why would you run this card? Well, number one, it's really good if you're attacking because your opponents cannot activate any traps if you're attacking with pendulum cards. That is an advantage that you have here. In fact, there was a time I was facing a complete trap-based deck, and I just kept attacking with my pendulum monsters. They couldn't do a thing against me because of this card. So it's really not as bad as you think. Now, I know you might be thinking, but wait, if you have your pendulum zone not set up with an Odd-Eyes monster, it's going to go to a scale 4. That's fine too. The whole deck's Magicians and Odd-Eyes for the most part. So the odds of that happening, really low. It's actually a really good card. Okay? This card is also great. Love this card. Odd-Eyes Gravity Dragon. So when it's special summon, number 1, you can return all the spells and traps your opponent controls to the hand, which is just awesome. And this is my favorite part of this card. Every time they activate a card effect, they take 500 damage. My goodness, I can't tell you how many duels I've seen my son win because of this effect. Because the kids keep activating effect after effect after effect, or the adults do, and they lose because of this card. There was a 20-year-old facing my 5-year-old son the other day, and he was real salty. He's like, I'm like, how you doing? And he goes, I'm losing to a 5-year-old. And it was mostly because of this card. He couldn't get around this to make the plays happen that he needed to. All right. Then I run 2 Odd-Eyes Phantom Dragon. This card's also really good. What's great about it, if you have Odd-Eyes cards in your Pendulum zone, You can inflict battle damage times that by 1200. So it's really good extra damage, this card here. So I do like it for that reason. Of course, if I'm playing an Odd-Eyes build, gotta have 3 Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragons. This card is so useful. Not only does it do double damage, which is great for OTK situations, it also does, in the pendulum scale, you can blow it up at the end phase, destroy it, and search any monster that's 1500 or lower. So really, really useful, great card. Okay, also because I'm running an Odd-Eyes build, 1 Odd-Eyes Lancer Dragon. Really great card. It protects itself super well too, and it's a 3000 beat stick, which is important for this deck. All right. 1 Performapal Odd-Eyes Miniaturus. So you can use the effect that I just talked about with Unicorn with this card because it says Performapal, but it's also searchable because it says Odd-Eyes with other cards I'm going to show you in a little bit. Also, you need it for the extra deck because it's 4 stars and it's dark. Really great card here, Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. Really good for a special summon if you need a monster on the field. Okay, 1 Noble Dragon Magician. This is a tuner. That's the only reason I have this card in the deck is because it's a tuner, and you will need it for cards in the extra deck. 1 Breaker the Magical Warrior. Really great card, just because it targets 1 card on the field, and you can destroy it if it's a spell or trap by removing a counter. Okay. Then we get to the other side of our scales. Oh, and I wanted to mention that. So if you look at my scales here, I think this is important whenever you're building a pendulum deck. So notice I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 that are scale 8. Now watch this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I have 9 on the other side. Now you might be thinking, well, why is that so important if I'm making a pendulum deck? The reason it's so important, you have to have deck consistency. That definitely allows you to have that. You always want to make sure you have an equal amount of pendulum scales. Okay, so 3 Dragon Pulse Magician. This card is absolutely awesome. So it's the opposite of Dragon Pit. Instead of targeting a spell or trap, you target a monster. By discarding 1, you destroy it. Really, really great card. Awesome scale too. Love, love, love this card. So 1 Timebreaker Magician. What makes this card so great, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls and you can banish it. Really, really helpful. Okay, then I run 3 Dharma Eye Magician. Honestly, I only have this card for the scale, and then it's also level 7. 1 Performapal Odd-Eyes Light Phoenix. Again, I run this only for the scale 3. And also that it's 5 stars. And 1 Acrobatic Magician. And I run this because it's a scale 2, and it's also 5 stars, and I need it for tuning situations. So those are the monsters. Now we're going to get into the spells. This is an absolute for this deck is Sky Iris. This is a super great card. It allows you to destroy a card on the field, which is awesome. I'm going to show you a combo that is super useful when you do that. Also, it protects your pendulum scales. So before they can blow up your pendulum scales with like an MST or maybe a Twin Twister, they have to do Sky Iris first. So that's a really, really useful card. Great for searching out cards you're going to need. Awesome card as well. 2 Odd-Eyes Fusions. Now, what I love about this card, you can use this as a polymerization basically for any fusion dragon in the deck, and all your extra deck is dragons. But what's great too, if your opponent controls 2 monsters, you can activate this in fusion using cards from your extra deck. Really, really, really useful card. Absolutely love this. Run 2. Okay, gotta have Odd-Eyes Advent. This is the ritual card to get out the ritual monster I was telling you about earlier. Summoner's Art. This will search Dragon Pit for you because he's considered a normal monster even though he's a pendulum monster. 1 Swords of Revealing Light. Really great card. Okay. 2 Spiral Flame Strike. This card's really good because 1, you can search for an Odd-Eyes card that's level 7, or you can target a card on the field and destroy it. Really great card. Of course, in the new format, 1 Monster Reborn. This card is just too good not to run. And then, this might surprise a lot of people, but 2 Burden of the Mighties. The reason I run Burden of the Mighty, if you're facing a deck that runs mostly fusion monsters, this helps out tremendously because usually those fusions are a little high, and this helps out quite a bit. And again, this is a beginner's deck. And because it's also a beginner's deck, 1 Scamp Iron Scarecrow. Now, why do I run this? It's real easy for kids to understand, or a new player, that they can negate 1 attack per turn, and then it just goes face down again. Super, super easy card to use. Okay, so those are all the spells and traps. Now it's time to get into the extra deck. All right, so 1, number 11 Big Eye. This used to be a $5 card. It's so useful. You just detach 1 material, and then you take control of your opponent's monster. Really, really great card. 1 Odd-Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. I never, ever have synchro summoned this monster. The only reason I use it is with Odd-Eyes Fusion. So, for example, what I do if I want to use Odd-Eyes Fusion, I just take Odd-Eyes Fusion. I send this to the graveyard, and then I send maybe another pendulum monster, and then I can make another or Vortex Dragon, which is in my extra deck as well. So that's the only reason I run that card. Speaking of Vortex, this is the absolute hero of the deck. Okay, so if you don't know how this card works, which I'd be shocked if you don't, but it's great for, again, new players. When it's special summon, you target 1 opponent's attack position monster. It's returned to the hand. Now, when a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, you can shuffle 1 face-up pendulum monster from your extra deck and negate the activation. I can't tell you how many times my son has won duels because of this card alone. Again, he just turned 6, and he's been wrecking people because he knows when to activate the effect. This card is absolutely awesome, and there's multiple ways to get it out, which is really nice. Really, really great card. Speaking of which, the other ways to get out that card is this one here. Now, Odd-Eyes Absolute Dragon. It's useful on its own. It actually, you can detach material and stop an opponent from attacking you, which is nice. The better effect, though, is when it goes to the grave. Now, if you remember, I had talked about Sky Iris earlier. Now, if you use Sky Iris's effect to destroy this card, this goes to the grave. What happens? His effect goes off in the graveyard. You can summon any Odd-Eyes card from your extra deck, and then you bring out Vortex, and then you can stop or start stopping your opponent's plays. It's an extremely, extremely useful combo. So I run 2 of those. Okay. 2 Supreme King Dark Rebellion. This card's also awesome. It only takes 2 level 4 Dark Pendulum monsters, and you detach a card or one of the materials, and then when you attack, you gain the attack of an opponent's monster, and their attack goes to 0. So this is super, super useful. Definitely has won several duels just using this card. Okay. Because my son absolutely loves the anime, Rune-Eyes Pendulum Dragon, it's actually super useful because when it is summoned, it is actually unaffected by your opponent's card effects the turn that it's summoned. And it allows you to attack 2 or 3 times depending on the amount of stars of the cards used to summon it. Real easy to get out too with Odd-Eyes Fusion. Really useful. Okay. Then we run one Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Okay. So this is super easy to make. All you have to do is actually tribute the cards that are on the field. You don't need a polymerization to make this, which is one reason I run it. And then also when you destroy a monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of the beast type material used to make this. So it's extra effect damage too. Really useful card. And then for when I do tune, this is the Synchro Monster I tune for, which is Supreme King Dragon Clear Wing. This card is so good. I can't get over how good this card is and how easy it is to make. It's a Regeki basically. It destroys all the monsters your opponent controls. So that's the extra deck now, and now we'll go ahead and get into some actual play. Okay, so real quick, there's one last thing I want to mention before we get into some plays. The other great thing about Skyrus that I forgot to mention, this allows you to search any Odd-Eyes card in your deck, and you get to add it to your hand. So that's what makes this card so great. So when you destroy a card on your field, you get to search for a card in your deck. That is always going to be a good play. So I just wanted to make sure I reviewed that before we got into the actual plays of the deck. Okay, so one thing I also feel that I need to mention about this deck, it's really important to actually go second to see what your opponent does. So I'm going to draw my 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now my 6th card. Okay, so I got my 6th card now. Okay, so this is actually really good. So there's my hand. Okay, so not a bad hand at all. Okay, so the first thing I'm actually going to do is go ahead and play Skyrus. Now, after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon in the Pendulum Zone. Pendulum Zone is on either side of your actual board. I'm going to use Skyrus' effects. So I use it. I destroy the Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon. Now what's nice about this, there's a good chance that your opponent has 2 monsters on the field. So right away what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to be able to use the fusion if I want. More than likely. That would be my guess. Okay, so then I shuffle my deck. Now, again, this is where I can actually use the fusion card if I want to. First, though, I need to make sure that I do something else. Remember, Time Gazer, in order for him to be activated, you can't control any monsters. So we're going to make sure that we activate him. Now I'm going to go ahead and use Odd-Eyes Fusion. So I send from, or actually, you know what? I don't know if I want to do that actually. No, I'm not going, no, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and activate it. So I send my extra deck card that I just blew up to the grave. And then from my extra deck, I'm going to go ahead and send Odd-Eyes Meteor Burst to the grave. And then bam, that gets me Vortex to the field. So Vortex now hits the field, and I activate the effect, and I pop one of my opponent's monsters back to their hand. So look at that, a real quick play that's extremely useful. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and place my other card in. Okay, so I've got that in my other Pendulum Zone. Now, because I've got scale 3, and I also have scale 8, and the scales, guys, are right there if you've never played Yu-Gi-Oh! I can actually go ahead and Pendulum Summon any monsters 4, 5, 6, or 7 levels. So I go ahead and I Pendulum Summon the Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and I'm also going to go ahead and play my Burden of the Mighty. Okay, yes, I know that's my whole hand, and now I'm top decking, but there's a good chance they don't have a lot on the field right now. Now, even if they do have a trap, when I attack with the Odd-Eyes Pendulum Dragon, Time Gazer Magician's effect goes off, so I'll enter battle phase, and I'll go ahead and I'll attack. That's super easy to understand if you play Yu-Gi-Oh. Okay, super, super easy. Okay, so my opponent goes. I'm assuming they probably don't have a way around this right away. Turn two. Okay, I go ahead and draw. Now, I'm going to go ahead and activate Skyrus's effect. I destroy my Time Gazer Magician. Skyrus's effect goes off, and that allows me to search for another card. And this time, I'm going to go ahead and search for this Odd-Eyes card right there. Because Burden of the Mighty's on the field, assuming that they don't have an Xyz monster on or a Link monster, and again, this is for starters playing Yu-Gi-Oh, so there's a good chance if they're facing other starters, they won't. Okay, so I've got that in the hand. Now, on my draw, I got Dragon Pit. Okay, so he's a scale 8, so I can put him there. Now I can go ahead and Pendulum Summon. So I Pendulum Summon that card out. Now, I have no fear of attacking. Now you might be saying, but you just got rid of Time Gazer. Yes, but I have the Odd-Eyes Vortex Dragon, which can stop a trap or a spell. So I enter battle phase, enter it again, and then if it goes through, the effect of him goes off, and because I control an Odd-Eyes monster in one of the pendulum zones, they take an additional 1,500 damage. So a super easy deck for you to teach to somebody if they don't know how to play the game Yu-Gi-Oh. Okay, let me show you another sample hand. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go second again if I can. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I draw my extra card for 6. Oh yeah, this is not bad at all. Not bad at all. So the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to place this here. Now, if I control no monsters, I can actually special summon him to the field, and I can only do that once per duel. So I'll go ahead and do that because I want him there. The next thing that I'm going to go ahead and do now, I'm going to go ahead and set my scale. So first I'm going to do Dragon Pit. Then I'm going to do Noble Magician. Now you might be thinking, but that leaves you only 6 and 7 stars. Well, the majority of the deck is actually level 7, so that's fine. So I play Burden of the Mighty. I'm going to Pendulum Summon now. 1, 2. Both of those cards are 7 stars. Now, this is where I'm going to go into my extra deck. So I've got 2 level 7 monsters. Now, if my opponent controls a really good monster, maybe I want to take control of it. So if I do that, I could summon Big Eye. And remember, his effect is all I have to do is detach one material, and then I get one of their cards from their side of the field. So I might do that. If I can't target the card, something else that I'll probably do here is go for Odd-Eyes Absolute. And remember, if he ends up getting destroyed, then I can go ahead and special summon my Odd-Eyes Vortex to the field, which has a really good effect. Okay, so assuming that I can attack, I'll go ahead and attack. I really don't care if they destroy my card, because his effect, Odd-Eyes Absolute, would trigger in the graveyard, giving me Vortex from my extra deck. So that's fine with me. So I go ahead and attack. I'm assuming it probably goes through. Then it's my opponent's turn. Now, I actually want them to destroy Abyss Curtain Call, because then if this goes off, I have a card to negate stuff in the extra deck. So that actually is helpful. Okay, turn 2. All right, so I control an Odd-Eyes card, and I can actually go ahead and activate Spiral Flame Strike's effect, and I can destroy one card that they control, which is really nice. Or I could even destroy my own card, and if I do that, if I destroy my own card, it goes to the grave, Absolute's effect triggers, and then that gives me vortex to the field, and then I activate his effect, popping a card back to my opponent's hand, which is really nice. So notice that's another way that you could use that card if you needed to, and I can negate stuff because I got a card in the extra deck. So now it's my opponent's turn. I wait for them to make their critical play. They're making it. I use Odd-Eyes Absolute Dragon's effect. I negate it, shuffling the extra deck monster that I have back into the deck. And then that stops their big play. Okay? And then it's my turn. So I go ahead and draw. Oh, perfect. So I get Skyris here. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and activate Skyris' effect. I'm going to go ahead and destroy Noble Dragon Magician. And then I'm going to look for a scale that is very easy for me to use, which would then be Odd-Eyes Light Phoenix, Performapal. So I put that there, okay? All right, and then I'm actually gonna leave the Odd-Eyes Vortex in defense. And again, the reason being, I wanna stop my opponent's major plays from happening. So I end my turn. Now it's my opponent's turn. I wait for them to make their critical play. I negate it. And many times they'll try to trick you, but I negate it and that shuts down their play. Okay? Now it's my turn again. I go ahead and draw for turn. Now, I got the ritual card that I was looking for, but that's not exactly what I was wanting right away. So I'm going to have to wait at least a turn. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use Skyris' effect. I'm going to destroy Burden of the Mighty. And then I'm going to grab Odd-Eyes Phantom. I'm going to go ahead and Pendulum Summon. Oops, that should go to the graveyard. I go ahead and Pendulum Summon Odd-Eyes Phantom Dragon to the field. Okay. And then I go ahead and I attack. All right. Now, assuming my card lasts, because they are pretty powerful, 2,500, 3,000 defense. Okay, it's time for my turn again. So I go ahead and draw. Just another Skyris, not a big deal. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use Skyris' effect. I'm going to destroy Odd-Eyes Phantom Dragon. And I'm just going to go ahead and add another one to my hand. I'm going to Pendulum Summon it from my hand. And then again, I'll try to attack. And if the attack goes through, remember his effect happens where I can actually go ahead and inflict 1,200 damage additional because I control a Odd-Eyes card in my Pendulum Zone. Okay, so it's my opponent's turn. I wait for them to make a big play. I negate it with Vortex, shuffling my Pendulum monster back into the deck. All right, my turn. Okay, so I draw for turn. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I just will do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do Odd-Eyes Fusion. So I go ahead and do the fusion. And that's going to give me another one to the field. The effect goes off. That then sends an opponent's monster back to their hand. And notice I've got a card ready to go here. Okay? And then I'm going to use Skyris' effect. I haven't done it this turn, so I'm going to destroy this card. And what I am going to go for instead... actually, I'll destroy Dragon Pit. And then what I'm going to get is a Scale 8 Unicorn. And then I'll go ahead and play that. Okay, so I've got, again, still Scale 3, Scale 8, which is really useful. Okay? All right, so now it is my opponent's turn. Now I've got 2 cards in the extra deck. So I can negate again a critical play that they do. And you might be thinking, well, is that really all it takes? Yes, it is sometimes. You'd be surprised how much of a crawl you can make these decks come to by doing that. Okay, so now I draw. Okay, I'm going to Pendulum Summon. I hit a really good draw. So I'm going to Pendulum Summon Odd-Eyes. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and use Skyris' effect. I'm going to destroy Odd-Eyes Unicorn. And this is where I get one of the best cards in the deck. Now I can get the fusion, or the ritual monster. Okay, so I've got the ritual monster out now. I'm going to go ahead and activate Odd-Eyes Advent. Again, more cards in the extra deck. And bam, there goes Odd-Eyes Gravity Dragon. So Odd-Eyes Gravity Dragon's effect kicks off. It returns all spells and traps back to the field. And then I can go ahead and attack. Now what's nice about this, I've got my extra deck loaded to negate things my opponent does. And every time they activate effects now, they're taking 500 damage. You would be shocked how useful that is, especially with how many effects people try to play in Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's basically the deck in a nutshell. That's you using the majority of the cards that you're going to need. I'll try to show you one situation here where you would use some of the other extra deck cards. So I'll show you that next. Okay, so one of the other extra deck monsters I want you to see how easy it is to summon is the one that I believe is the Beast one. Yes, so right here. So it's the Beast Eyes Pendulum Dragon. And it's really easy to make because you don't have to use a polymerization, which makes it super useful. Okay, so I put Skyris on the field. Then I'm going to go ahead and set my scale. So Time Gazer. Then I'm going to go ahead and put Dragon Pulse. And then all I have to do is Pendulum Summon 2. He's a beast, okay? Or if I even had, I'm not sure, he's a Beast Warrior. So maybe instead of him, I Pendulum Summon. And then I just normal summon the Unicorn because he's a level 1. I know for sure he's a beast. That now fits the requirements. So I just tribute both. And then bam, this comes out onto the field. Super, super useful, easy to make play. Let me go ahead and show you some other extra deck cards now. Okay, so I want to show you some situations where you can actually make some of the other cards in the extra deck. Let's say I have Abyss Actor Curtain Razor in my hand. I go ahead and use his effect to put him in the pendulum, or to go from the pendulum zone to special summon him there. Then I normal summon Perform Odd-Eyes Miniaturist. They're both 2 level 4 dark monsters. Okay, and then that is the requirement now that I would need to make Supreme King Dark Rebellion Dragon. So I can then go ahead and make that card. And remember how this card works. You detach a material. During the damage step, you target 1 monster. Its attack becomes 0. And this card gains the attack until the end phase. Super, super useful card. Very easy to summon in this deck. Okay? Now, another play that you guys might run into is where you actually need to have a tuning situation. Okay, so let's say I've got Stargazer Magician out. Okay, and then I've also got Dragon Pulse. What I could do to make the card that I need, I could make, if I Pendulum Summon Acrobatic Magician, and I then special summon Noble Dragon Magician, I have enough to tune now, because I just need level 8. So 3 plus 5 allows me to tune. This card goes here, this gets put at the bottom of my deck, and then bam, I have made Supreme King Dragon Clear Wing. His effect activates, and then I blow up my opponent's monsters, and I'm ready to attack. Super, super awesome card. Situational in this deck, you cannot make him as easy as you can in other Pendulum decks. So, guys, that's the deck profile. I hope that you enjoyed it. It's super, super easy to use and to make. And please keep in mind, this is for beginners. This is not going to be a cutting edge deck. And there's cards you could include to make it that way. But I was going for something as cheap as possible that could also be super easy to learn. So that's the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think in the comments as always. And I'll talk to you guys next time.